To the ones who've been holding it all, the silence, the emotions, the logistics, this space is for you. There was something I wasn't expecting to find in Europe. I expected beautiful cities, history, art, wonderful food. What I didn't expect to find was the peace of not being defined. For 6 weeks, nobody expected anything from me. Nobody knew where I was every minute of the day. Nobody asked me what was for dinner. Nobody needed me to solve a problem. Nobody expected me to organize, remember, or fix something. For the first time in a very long time, I woke up each morning and asked myself a simple question. What do I want to do today? It sounds such a simple question, but I realized I hadn't asked myself that in years. Somewhere along the line, somewhere along the way, life had become full of responsibilities. Like so many of us, my days were filled with remembering, planning, checking in, thinking ahead, making sure everyone else was okay. It wasn't that I resented those things. Many of them came from love. But I hadn't realized how much space they were occupying in my mind until they became quiet. Europe gave me something I didn't even know I needed. Space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to notice, space to simply be. One afternoon in Barcelona, I was sitting in Plaça de Catalunya when I realized my phone battery was running low. I switched it to flight mode so I would have enough battery to find my way back later. It wasn't meant to be anything significant, but something unexpected happened. Without notifications, without messages, without the temptation to check my screen, I looked up, really looked up. Children chased pigeons across the square. Friends lingered over coffee. An elderly couple sat quietly on a bench, saying very little, yet looking completely content. A violinist filled the air with music. Life wasn't asking me to hurry. It was simply inviting me to notice. And in that moment, I wasn't a patient. I wasn't caring tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about everything waiting for me back home. I was simply a woman sitting in a beautiful square, completely present. As the weeks passed, I found myself reaching for my phone less and less. I wasn't trying to capture every moment. I wasn't wondering what everyone else was doing. I wasn't living two lives, one on a screen and one in front of me. I was fully present. And perhaps that's why those memories have stayed with me so vividly. But solitude gave me something even greater than presence. It gave me perspective. The more time I spent alone, the more I learned about myself. I learned that I genuinely enjoy my own company. Give me a quiet cafe, a beautiful church, a museum, or a street I've never walked before, and I'm completely content. I discovered I love history more than I ever realized. Not just reading about it, but standing where it happened. One afternoon, I found myself sitting in the very place where Christopher Columbus returned after his first voyage and met King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. I remember sitting there imagining that moment. The excitement, the uncertainty, the stories he must have carried home. People came, they took a photograph, then they hurried on. I stayed, I wondered, I imagined, and I realized something. I don't just enjoy seeing history. I love stepping into it. I love imagining the lives of the people who walked those streets centuries before me. I could have sat there for hours. Perhaps that was part of my soul searching, not looking for answers, but noticing what made me lose track of time, what filled me with wonder, what made me feel quietly alive. There was another kind of peace I hadn't expected. For a little while, I wasn't defined by cancer. Cancer had shaped part of my life, but it no longer got to define every day. For precious weeks, it wasn't the headline. I wasn't counting down to appointments. I wasn't waiting for scan results. I wasn't wondering what every ache or pain might mean. Those thoughts didn't disappear. They simply became quieter, because something else became louder. The joy of wandering, the beauty of history, the excitement of discovering somewhere new, the simple gift of feeling well enough to explore. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't surviving life. I was experiencing it. Looking back, I realized the greatest gift Europe gave me wasn't a place. It was perspective. It reminded me that I'm more than the roles I carry, more than the responsibilities I hold, more than the diagnosis I lived through. Those things are part of my story, but they are not all of who I am. Somewhere between the colorful tiled streets of Portugal, the cafes of Paris, the lively squares of Barcelona, the canals of Venice, the Renaissance beauty of Florence, and the ancient streets and churches of Rome, I met another part of myself, the curious woman, the woman who loves history, the woman who enjoys getting wonderfully lost, the woman who finally had nowhere else she needed to be, the woman who can sit alone with a coffee and feel completely at peace. Not because I became someone new, but because solitude gave me the space to meet the woman I've been all along. You don't have to travel to Europe to find that kind of peace. Maybe it begins by asking yourself the same question I ask myself each morning. What do I want for myself today? Maybe it's taking a walk without your phone, sitting in a cafe a little longer, walking through a museum, visiting a place that stirs your curiosity, or simply giving yourself permission to put down, even for a little while, everything you've been carrying. Perhaps that's what peace really is. Not becoming someone different, but remembering that you were never just one thing. Before we are our jobs, before we are carers, before we are partners, parents, daughters, or survivors, we are simply people. And perhaps the most important thing we can do for ourselves is create enough quiet to meet ourselves again. Thank you for joining me for another chapter of my quiet unfolding. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep unfolding one quiet moment at a time.